Hello and welcome to another video from Miles Touch Toys, Games, Collectibles. And today we are looking at something very old and by golly now very rare indeed. We are looking at the Eagles Dan Dare's Space Annual from 1963, which was released by Longacre Press in late 1962 for the upcoming 1963 year. Now, back in the day, most of these annuals were released towards the end of the previous year. So, for example, this one would have been released in round about October, November time, 1962. So it was ready for the 1962 Christmas, and it was all for the upcoming 1963 year. So annuals were a big thing at Christmas back in the day. Every kid had one in their stocking or in their Christmas sack on Christmas morning. Okay, but this one we're looking at today is obviously of Dan Dare's Space Annual, and this is the front cover, and it's got the Eagle logo at the very top there, and it says Dan Dare's Space Annual 1963. Bearing in mind, this is also before the moon landing with Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong. Okay, so that's the front cover. Let's whip it over and see what we got on the back. So on the back, the cover's exactly the same again. Picture of Dan Dare in his space suit and the spaceship to his right, and he's on the moon or some planet walking through a planet. Eagle logo at the top again. Dan Dare Space Annual 1963. Let's just have a very quick look at the spline. And it says Dan Dare Space Annual 1963. Nothing else to report on there. A little bit of wear at either end. And some laminate is beginning to dissolve along the spline area there. But other than that, annual's good. Okay, let's open it up and have a look inside. Okay, so I've opened it up, and this is inside the front cover. And you can see you've got different types of satellites and spaceships there that have gone up through the course of history. Remember, this is up till 1963. Incidentally, just one thing I'd like to point out there. It's got the original purchase price there of 8 shillings and sixpence, all the way back from 1963. So I just wanted to show you that. Okay. Turn the page over, and it says Dan Dare Space Annual 1963. It has got a small dedication here, which says, "To dear Richard, with love from Nanny Ma." Or Nanny, it might be Nanny. And there you can see again the comic illustration of Dan Dare and his accomplice on the moon, and the rockets in the background, and it looks like they're being fired upon, or maybe it's a meteor shower. Probably a meteor shower actually, because it's all stones that's coming down. Okay, turn over. Contents: Dan Dare stories. So we got the Fuel Pirates, we got Destruction Wavelength, the 10th Planet, Rescue. Strips, we've got Dan Dare in Planolid, Galileo the Stargazer, Dan Dare in the Planet of Shadows, Yuri Gagarin, Man into Space, articles and features, Satellites in Orbit, Project Nova, An American in Orbit, The Story of Flight, So You Want to Be an Astronaut, Off to the Moon, Spanning the Heavens, Satellites at Work, Exploring the Planets, Make Your Own Telescope. And Dan Dare features includes data sheets, rocket model, space fleet equipment, interplanetary bus, rocket launching ramp, space satellite, space fleet bomber, trial rocket area, transport at sea, and space fleet uniform. And it's got illustrations by Bruce Cornwell, Don Garley, Gordon Davis, B. Gerbit, B.R. Linklater, and Kenneth Odie. Made in Great Britain by the publishers Longacre Press Limited, London, EC4, by Perel and Sons, Poulton, Bristol. And it's Longacre Press Limited, 1962. Okay, so the very first section then is the first story, which is the Fuel Pirates, which is a Dan Dare story. And this is a full story with monocolour illustrations, as you can see. I think this is quite a long story, actually. There's the X-20. And then we go on to, then we got Project Nova, written and illustrated by Gordon Davis. I suppose that's, it says, within the next 5 or 6 years, the United States hopes to have a 3-man team on the moon's surface. And that's exactly what happened, because this was 1963, and 1966 there was the moon landing. Okay, so and this is all about the approach to the moon landing, and an American in orbit. And this is astronaut John Glenn that walks to the van, which will take him to the launch pad. The box in his hand, in his left hand, is a portable air conditioner. Right, getting into the cramped quarters of the Mercury spaceship, Friendship 7. Great care has to be taken to protect the spacesuit. Okay, and that's the rocket, and that's the rocket blasting off, and the I think that's the cone coming down again. Again, details of the space flight. Dan Dare data sheet. And this is file number 6223271. And it's Force Jet Mark II. And Data Jet 2016322. And this is the unit rack. And these are all vehicles from Dan Dare's adventures. Dan Dare data sheet again, and this one is the Trojan Mark 12. And the story of flight, so that's right from the very beginning, where how man longed to fly just like birds, and all the vehicles that he's produced to be able to fly. And it takes you right up to 1963 or 62, late 62 when this annual was produced. And then we come on to the first comic strip, which is Dan Dare in Planet. And this is a full colour comic strip story featuring Dan Dare himself. And there we come to So You Want to Be an Astronaut, and that's all the things you have to go through to become an astronaut at NASA. And this is, remember, this is past, so things have changed a lot since 1963. And then we're back onto another story, which is Destruction Wavelength, which is a Dan Dare full story again, with black and white illustrations, as you can see. And then we come into Dan Dare rocket model, Build Yourself a Space Fleet Interceptor, and it gives you all the details on how to make this particular model. And then we've got another Dan Dare story, which is Off to the Moon. And again, it's a full story with black and white. I mean, actually, I don't know if Dan Dare's actually in there. It might just be a story. And then we've got Dan Dare Spaceflight Equipment again. And I don't know what vehicles these are, but they're vehicles obviously from the Dan Dare comic strips, vehicles that he's used. And then we go on to the Stargazer Galileo, which is a comic strip story, and it is in black and white. And then we come on to the 10th Planet, which is no relation to the Doctor Who series, which is again a full story with black and white illustrations featuring Dan Dare. Spanning the Heavens, that's how we used to look up at the sky, all the different telescopes and things that we've used over the years. And then we're back onto another Dan Dare comic strip, which is Dan Dare in the Planet of Shadows. And this is a full colour comic strip featuring the space pilot himself. And then we've got Satellites at Work, and that's the satellites that go around the planet, beam us back information. Again, we're talking 1963, long before we had all the current phone satellite systems and so on up there, internet systems and what have you. Then we got Rocket Launching Ramp, so that's the ramp that launches the rocket into space. And then we've got another Dan Dare story, which is Rescue, and it's a full story again with black and white illustrations. And then we come up to Dan Dare Space Satellite and Dan Dare Space Fleet Bomber, which again are all their vehicles from the comic strips. And then we've got another story, comic strip story, which is Man into Space, which is the Yuri Gagarin story, who was the first man into space. And that brings us to the end. Oh, no, it's not. It's not. It brings us to another Dan Dare space flight trial rocket area. So that's where Dan Dare does all his trial vehicles. Dan Dare Transport at Sea, and that's obviously the boats that they use on the water. Exploring the Planets by Maurice Allwood, and that is all about planets again. You can see planets. Yeah, and so on. And finally we come to Make Your Own Telescope, again, so you can make your own telescope to look up for the stars. And then it brings us to the end of the annual, and we've got all sorts of different uniforms that has been worn over the course of the years. Space uniforms, I imagine, but there we are. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the annual. So, major question, how well do these annuals do? Well, like any annuals back in the 50s, 60s, 70s and 80s, they were staple diet for every kid. And obviously parents always used to read them as well. They were such good books at a time when you only had 2 channels, or 3 channels most on television. And so you'd have your favourite programmes, you watch them on TV. If you missed it, you missed it. You couldn't watch it again unless there was a rerun, which sometimes didn't happen for a very long time. So in order to fill the gap, the annuals was a very, very big and popular item. So anyone that was well into their programmes or their comics or their pop stars or their football teams, come to that, there was annuals produced on the run up to Christmas. There used to be hundreds and hundreds of different annuals produced every year around, and they would be out in September, October, November time, so they were in time for Christmas. So very big, very popular, and every kid used to get annuals in their Christmas stockings or Christmas sacks. When I was a kid, there used to be 2 or 3 different ones because I was well into sci-fi and I loved so many different programs. So I have all different annuals in my Christmas sack on Christmas morning. So yes, done very, very well. Of course, now we're talking 61 years on, or 62 years from the release. These annuals are now becoming very difficult to find, especially in good condition like this one. They do pop up from time to time on the platforms, but they are becoming less and less frequent due to the fact that there's very few of them around these days. So yeah, they are not popping up as regularly as they used to. However, we at Midas Touch have managed to find a few, and they're currently available to purchase on the Midas Touch website, which you can get to quite simply by clicking the link below. It'll take you straight to the website where you'll be able to find this and many other vintage annuals and many other vintage toys, games and collectibles. Come to that. There's over 10,000 products currently available on the website for you to view and purchase at your leisure. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because we're uploading videos for every new item that goes into the website. There will be something for everybody, and I'm absolutely positive that you're not going to want to miss this, because we literally have thousands and thousands of new products which we're shooting videos for and uploading on a daily basis. So if there's something in particular you are looking for, something old that you've never been able to find, something quirky you might want to buy for a friend, or maybe just something from your childhood that you'd like to own again to help you recuperate those long lost childhood memories. Well, stay tuned, keep watching, because you never know, the next item we upload could be that item you've been looking for. Okay, that is it for me on this particular item. I do hope you've enjoyed this very short video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.